What if I told you? One of the most viral images tied to Jeffrey Epstein was never meant to be political, never meant to be conspiratorial, and was actually created by a young art student who had no idea who would end up owning it. A painting of Bill Clinton in a blue dress hanging inside Epstein's mansion exploded across the internet, fueling theories, outrage, and speculation. But today we're asking a deeper question. What happens when art escapes its original meaning and becomes part of a global scandal? This is the untold story of the artist behind that painting and how a student artwork turned into a cultural grenade. In 2019, as the Jeffrey Epstein scandal resurfaced with renewed intensity, photos from inside his Manhattan townhouse shocked the public. Among them was a strange and unsettling image, a formal portrait of former U.S. President Bill Clinton, posed confidently, wearing a blue dress and red heels. The internet reacted instantly. Social media lit up with speculation. Was it a political message, a hidden insult, a personal joke, or something darker? But almost no one asked the most important question: who actually painted it, and why? The artist behind the painting is Patrina Ryan Clyde, an Australian-born painter who, in 2012, was a graduate student at the New York Academy of Art. At the time, she was new to the United States, not politically aligned with either American party, and working on her MFA thesis. The painting's real title is Parsing Bill. And here's the key detail most headlines ignored. It was never commissioned, it was never political propaganda, and it was never intended for Jeffrey Epstein. It was simply a student artwork, created in an academic environment that encouraged satire, symbolism, and critique. Ryan Clyde has repeatedly explained that Parsing Bill was part of a pair of paintings. The second piece depicted George W. Bush playing with children's toys, titled War Games. Together, the works explored one idea: how presidents are caricatured by their critics. Not literal, not personal, not ideological. The blue dress was a symbol, referencing the infamous Monica Lewinsky scandal, a cultural image that had already been embedded in late-night comedy and political satire for years. Ryan Clyde herself said her inspiration came from political satire shows like The Daily Show, cable news commentary, media framing, not partisan beliefs. In other words, she was painting how power is mocked, not attacking gender, identity, or individuals. This is where the story takes a darker, more uncomfortable turn. In 2012, the painting was sold at the Tribeca Ball, a fundraising event for the New York Academy of Art. Price? Around $1,300. Buyer? Unknown to the artist at the time. Years later, it was revealed that the buyer was Jeffrey Epstein. Ryan Clyde did not know who purchased the piece. She had no relationship with Epstein, and she was never contacted by him. Like many artists, once a work is sold, control over its future and its context is gone. Fast forward to Epstein's death and the release of photos from his estate. Suddenly, the painting reappears, the internet assigns meaning, and the artist is thrust into a narrative she never chose. Ryan Clyde described the experience as overwhelming, unsettling, and deeply uncomfortable. She emphasized, "I live a quiet life. This was a naive student idea that took on a life of its own." This raises a disturbing but important question. Can art be morally redefined by who owns it? Because once Epstein owned it, the painting stopped being just art. It became evidence, symbol, and headline fuel. Another twist in the story? The image resurfaced because Ryan Clyde had once uploaded it to Saatchi Art years earlier, simply because it was the only digital photo she had at the time. When the Epstein news broke, traffic flooded the listing. Prints sold rapidly. 100-plus copies were purchased almost overnight. Ryan Clyde earned about $14 per print. She tried to take the listing down. The system didn't respond, possibly overwhelmed by traffic. And she admitted she wasn't even sure she wanted to keep the money. Because for her, this wasn't success. It was collateral damage. This isn't just a story about Epstein or Clinton or even scandal. It's about how meaning gets rewritten by context, how artists lose control once work enters the world, and how the internet collapses nuance into outrage. A student artwork became a political Rorschach test, a satire became a conspiracy magnet, and an artist became a footnote in a scandal she never consented to join. So here's the real question for you. Should art be judged by its intention or by where it ends up? And if a criminal owns a piece of art, does that permanently stain the artist? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit like, subscribe, and share, because stories like this only survive when context survives.